Hey everybody, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Louise. I'm a full-time reseller on eBay, Poshmark. That's pretty much it these days. Um, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed, please do so. I would be super appreciative if you did. So you might notice my background looks a little bit different today. I am in my brand new office space. I will do a video tour of that as I get a little more settled in. It's a little bit of a disaster area right now, but it's very exciting. I outgrew my last office space, and this office space is an additional just under 300 square feet larger than my last one. And everything fits in here a lot better. I feel a lot more capable of getting work done without tripping over things. So that's awesome. So my video today is about 5 things that I have learned as a reseller. 5 things. So I want to preface this by saying that I have been reselling since 2004. I did a little dabbling prior to that, but 2004 is when I initially really got started reselling. And initially I got started reselling with baby and children's clothes, even though at that point I didn't have children. But I was shopping in a Ross and saw these Carter's John Lennon Imagine outfits that were adorable. And I don't really know why I thought to pick them up. I think I don't really know. Somehow I found myself on the eBay children's clothing board, and just kind of dove in from there, and quickly discovered that I could purchase things for a couple dollars and sell them for 30 to 40 pretty regularly. And so that's where my love of reselling started. I have been selling full-time for the past 4 years, and kind of ramped up from 2004 until then. More and more of my time was spent doing that. Prior to that, I was a teacher, and then I was a teacher of teachers at the graduate level. Anyway, that's my background. I don't know why I thought that was important right now, but maybe just because I feel like it's important to know someone's history and where they're coming from with what they've learned. So as far as 5 things that I have learned, my notes are on my computer, so apologies, that I have learned about reselling that I think might be worthwhile for me to pass on. The first thing, I'm going to put it here. Let's see if I can do that in my editing. Okay, so the first thing is that things change fast. And it's really important to never assume that something that was true a year ago is true now. Styles change, interests change, the market changes. And it's very important to remember that for instance, just because Carter's John Lennon thing sold really well in 2004 and they were hot and hard to find, doesn't mean that, if you see one today, you should pick it up. And styles change, especially if we're talking about the clothing world, pretty quickly. And it's important to remember as you take offers and things like that, that maybe you priced it 6 months ago when something was hot and now it's not. And it doesn't make financial sense to sit around and wait for the prices that you might have gotten when you initially listed it, for example. Also, just as far as sourcing, it's important to not get stuck. I see things all the time outsourcing when I used to go outsourcing before the current state of the world, that I would grab and think, oh, I should buy this. And then I would remember, no, that was then, this is now. It's totally different. So things change fast. Number 2 is do what works for you. And other people's business is not necessarily your business. And even if someone is super successful, just mirroring what they're doing and doing it yourself is not necessarily going to work. I have many times gone against the grain of what other people are doing to great success. And I have tried what other people were doing and wound up losing my motivation or it just not being super successful for me. So by all means, take what people suggest and try it, but know that just because it works for someone else doesn't mean that it will work for you. For example, a lot of people wouldn't take on renting space outside of their home, even if they do have 12 to 1,500 items, which is what I have right now, just because the overhead is significant. What I know for me is that my motivation, my desire to work, my ability to just focus is significantly different if I can go to work somewhere and have that somewhere not be in my home or my garage. That made a huge difference for me. And so while it might not have been the most fiscally responsible thing, it allowed my business to grow, which in turn was the most fiscally responsible thing to do. So do what works for you. Yes, take in all of the, input that you can get out there and consume the content and think about what might work. But know that ultimately you're the only one that can know what works for your business, and don't spend too much time trying to model yourself after other people. Okay, number 3 is plan big. I think I wasted a lot of years thinking I couldn't make a real business, or this was just a nice side income, or that the people who were making a good income reselling were somehow better than me or different than me or had something I didn't have. Think big, plan big. Don't be afraid to dream. And don't underestimate yourself. If someone had told me even a year ago that I would have the sales and income that I have right now, I would not have believed them. If someone had told me that I would be renting 650 square feet and filling it up, that I would be, sending out the sales that I'm sending out every day, I don't know that I would have really believed them. And I certainly didn't forecast it or dream about it or plan for it, most importantly. And I think it's really important to do that. Don't underestimate yourself. Decide what you want from your business, what you want your business to do for you, and go get it. And don't be afraid to dream like that and plan like that from day one. When you have 100 items listed, plan to have 1,000 items listed. Plan for what your business is going to look like when you're bigger. Number 4. Figure out where you need help or where you want help the most and hire it as soon as it's financially feasible to do it. This may be one of those things you want to completely disregard from my suggestion number 2, that you might want to look at this advice and run for the hills. A lot of people really like being super solo in their businesses. I hate taking pictures. I don't mind shipping. I don't mind inventorying. I like to source, like all of us like to source. I don't mind any of it. I don't mind listing. Taking pictures drives me bananas. And I was afraid of hiring help because of the cost and all of the things that come along with that for a really long time. And so I was limited by how many things I could get up the motivation to take pictures of. I'm also slow at taking pictures. My helper who does pictures for me is easily twice as fast as I was, and her pictures are fine. So I decided that photography was like the number one place that I wanted to get out. I wanted someone else to do it. And when I started to be willing to invest in having someone else do that for me, it took this huge weight off, and I could focus on the parts of my business that I either love or I don't mind doing. And that really did push my business forward significantly. And so I don't mean that you should hire someone day one, but as soon as you realize that what is that the hurdle to you being bigger and making more money is that you don't have enough time in the day. Like, literally, truly, honestly don't have enough time. Not because you're screwing around on Instagram on your phone so you don't have enough time, but like, for real, if you're working a full work day and you can't grow like you want to grow because you're out of time, time's a limited commodity. Decide what you don't like doing or what you want help with the most and outsource it to someone else. You could be helping someone else support their family. It's off of your plate, and then your time can be spent growing your business. And disregard that entirely if you don't want to do it and you want to just be a one-person show. Good for you. That's totally fine. There's a lot of super successful one-people shows. Okay, and my last thing is, this may not be super relevant to everybody, but hard goods and clothing are not the same game. And this sounds silly, but after baby clothes, I got really into one-off vintage hard goods and vintage clothing. And that's where my passion is. If I could just source those things, that's what I would do, 100%. But I had a hard time sourcing enough items to grow my business at the speed that I wanted to. And so I've shifted a little bit. But when I was selling one-off vintage items, my mindset was very much long tail, slow dime, wait for the right buyer. And so I would list things high and just wait. And I was okay holding on to things for a very long time and waiting for exactly the right buyer. And that business plan and model worked great for those things. I've had a really hard time now that I've shifted to mostly contemporary clothing. I've had a hard time changing that mindset because of what I talked about in number 1, which is that things change really fast. And so with contemporary clothing, I have found it's important to have a very different attitude. Accept low offers, not the lowball $2 on a $200 item. I'm not talking about those ones. But like, if I had a one-off vintage random brass candlestick, and I got a 50% off of what I had listed at offer, I probably wouldn't even consider it. But if I have a, Vince sweater that is contemporary and from the last season or so, and I get a 50% offer at what I've listed it at, I might consider it because I want to move those things. I don't want to be stuck holding on to those when they're not fashionable or not sought after anymore. And so that's a very different mindset for me. And I think I'm still learning that every day to maybe not shift entirely to fast nickel, but to allow a lot more of that in than I was when I was just a one-off vintage seller. So those are the 5 things that I thought of real quick off the top of my head that are the most lasting lessons I've had as a reseller. I would love to hear from people in the comments about what lessons you've learned and what you think about these lessons. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Yeah. So if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. If you're not already subscribed, please do so. I would love to have you here. I think that my next video will probably be about my most recent experience with my liquidation sourcing. The last pallet I received was quite a drama from start to finish, and I think it would be really interesting to share that journey and that process with you. So it would be a little bit of a storytelling. Yeah, so thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Until next time, I hope you all have great sales, and I can't wait to see you again. Have a great day.